Cool. Hello there. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night. If you're in those parts of the world where it's already sundown. Here it's mid-afternoon, late mid-afternoon, not quite late afternoon. And it's Monday, the first working day of the week for many people. It's also day number 4 for this series of lives. So yesterday we talked about the obverse of my philosophy that when one woman succeeds, any woman succeeds, means that all women win. That a success for an advancement, a lift for any woman is a win for all women. But that we talked about that on Saturday, and then yesterday we talked about the opposite of that, which is also when anything goes wrong, when bad things happen, when women are pushed back, when women fail, when women are held back. Any woman, it's all of us also being held back, and that's an important point, I think, because we live so much in our own little worlds, our own little communities, that it's easy to imagine or to ignore or not get too deeply drawn into what's happening or not happening in other parts of the world, except that really the way, apart from everything else, apart from the fact that just being in the universe, everything's connected, there is the reality that technology and modern times means that we really are all very, very closely connected. And if we hadn't got that message before, this whole COVID, these last 2 years of this COVID crisis, this entire pandemic and everything that it brought with it must have had you rethink the notion. Yeah. So it is really that when one woman succeeds, she opens the door, she nudges it, she pushes back maybe just a millimeter, but it's a little bit more, but a little bit more light can come in, a little bit more ease can come in for other women. And when that's not happening with a woman, when women are being oppressed, suppressed, repressed, pushed back, denied opportunity, denied our right to contribute to the world, it's all of us. And yesterday I gave the example of Iran. For weeks now, we have been following what's going on in Iran on the heels of the death of Masa Amini in police custody because she wasn't wearing wearing hijab properly, because she was not hidden enough, she was not invisible enough, she was too visible, and for that she paid with her life. She wasn't the first woman, she wasn't the last one either. And men also, there are men who went out to protest her murder and lost their lives, because it's about women, but not only about women. It's about it's about male supremacy. It's about men setting the rules and the parameters and deciding how and where and when communities, societies, groups must be, how it must be. And anybody who steps out of that line is subject to censure and to punishment and to ostracizing and all of those things, up to losing your life. So men who went out to say, no, women ought to have the right to decide whether they want to cover themselves from head to foot or not. Young men and older men have lost their lives in these last few weeks in Iran. And I went on to say after that, well, it's happening in Iran, it's affecting us here because we're hearing the news. And there are people from Iran living all over the world. Many of us have friends or colleagues at work or neighbors who are Iranian, who have Iranian ancestry, or of um, Afghani ancestry, or Pakistani, maybe but Muslim in any case, and those very fundamentalist strains of Islam, which require that women be denied visibility, denied activity, denied um, participation, full participation in normal human living. I have a serious problem with that, as anybody who knows me knows. And when I listened to the conversation with, I listened to a news story with Christiane Amanpour a week or so ago, when she had set up an interview with Ibrahim Raisi, the president of Iran, to talk about things, including what was going on in Iran. And he insisted that she wore hijab, that she covered her hair. She's not Muslim. She was in New York City. But the idea that everybody, everyone, not just the people who believe this, but everyone must be subjected to these strictures just grates on my nerves like nobody's business. It just is. And so it's affecting all of us. It is in all of our lives. So the fact that these repressions are being continued against women around the world, it is also true that it is affecting us. It reaches us all over the world. And so last night I asked, my request to everybody who was listening to me was, look around you, check your community, your colleagues, your friends, and see where perhaps you might be able to contribute something that eases life for women. Any success you have, any success anywhere, is success for women. Anything that you succeed at is a win for all other women. Look at it that way. In your work, in your private life, in your social life, with your family, at school, with what you do in your leisure time, how you play, any success that you accomplish there is is a win for all women. So go do stuff, go win, go succeed at things, so that the others of us can so life can be better for the others of us. It's a big deal, but it's a really, really cool thing, don't you think? Think about it. The littlest thing that you do opens the door just a little bit more. So even if you think that you live in the United States or in Europe or someplace like that, and you think that, well, yeah, I'm fully emancipated and all is well. I have, I can go to the bank and open my account. I don't need permission from any man to do this, that, or the other. I can get in my car and drive wherever I want. And but think about what else might be missing. Let me give an example. Some years ago, I say maybe 20 years ago, I was living in New Jersey. My sisters and I do road trips, yeah? We went on one once. We drove from New Jersey to Toronto and back over a weekend. And the neighbor upstairs, who, by the way, was from Afghanistan, neighbor in the apartment upstairs, right upstairs us, he was from Afghanistan. No, he was from Egypt. His wife was from Afghanistan. And he said to us, "You girls are wild." Because we just picked up and got in one car and went driving ourselves. Didn't have to ask anybody's permission, didn't need anybody to drive us. We got and went on a road trip, and he thought that was wild. He was living in New Jersey. He had a daughter, by the way, growing up, going to school in New Jersey. So yes, it is close. All of this is close to us. And so I wanted to talk to you today about some of the ways to position ourselves so that we are all contributing to this advancement, this equality, this empowerment that we want for women, the ability, the ease of engagement, of participation. And one of the things that it is clear to me that we get to do is the words that I use, expand our vocabularies. And I'm talking about language, yes, but not really, not only. Of course, we speak different languages, all of us. Some of us speak 2, 3, 4 different languages. In order to communicate, we use words. Yeah, we use language. Even if we are signing, it's called language. I don't sign. I was just, it's language. It's using language, using words to communicate. what we communicate and how we communicate and which words we have and what we use those words to communicate, however, comes out of what we do, what we've learned, where we've been, how we've been, what we've done, who we've met, and our experiences then, how we participate in our environment. And so I love to talk about a vocabulary of experiences. Your vocabulary of experiences informs everything that you do. And so when I talk about repression of women, that is the big deal for me. Women being shut away, locked away under hijab and in houses and in marriages and, not being allowed to go to school. I spoke with a group of Roma young women in Phoenix a few years ago. And they explained to me that they're not really expected to go to college or do anything when they're 13, 14, 15. They're expected to be, often in America, it's a little bit more difficult, but they get pulled out of school, or they're not required to participate in school because their life is going to be about being at home, taking care of the men and the children and the home and so on and so forth. There are many in their community. The culture in their community does not find place for educated women. And so those young girls, even growing up in the United States, finding and living with opposition to their desire to get educated and have a job and have some autonomy and some independence. And of course, some of them are fine with that because that's what they've known, that's the experience they've known. Some others, however, who have had other experiences, who have widened their vocabulary of experiences, who have maybe been on a college campus on a school trip, or who have met other women who are doing amazing, interesting things, or who just have their own money to spend and don't have to ask anybody for it. They think differently. They question things some more. Yeah. And so when I speak about the vocabulary of experiences, that's what I'm talking about. Learning, knowing, seeing, exploring, finding out what's going on in the world, what opportunities there are, what there is in the world, all the amazing, amazing things that we could do, that men do, that boys do, that people in other parts of the world do, like travel, like own your car, like, go study whatever it is you want to study, like travel when you need to travel or not, but be able to make your own decisions. Autonomy and independence are important. There's no such thing as independence, as really independence. We're human beings. We're always living in relationship with other people and depend on other people for all kinds of things. But the ability to make your own decision, having the resources, the material resources, but also the mental, the emotional, the psychological, the spiritual, whichever resources to make your own decisions, I think is really, really important, and comes with knowing. That's why education is so important. That is why education is so important. Because when you know. Writers, artists, politicians, activists, parents will tell you, when you've learned something, it changes you, it expands you. You can't just go back to being who you always were. No matter what you do, you have been expanded, opened, changed, lifted by learning, by this vocabulary of experiences that you have developed. And that's what I wish for women. And that's why I do the work that I do. The Women's Leadership Circle is all about women expanding their vocabulary of experiences. I encourage girls and women. When I speak to young girls, I tell them, when you start working, save money to travel. If you do nothing else with your money, spend some on travel. Go see the world. Go see how other people live. Go see how other girls do, what other men do, what other communities, other cultures are like. There's nothing more exciting than that in my book. I remember some years ago when my niece was very young. My sister was going to a conference and was concerned. My niece was 6 or 7 years old, and had expressed to her boss at the time that she's concerned about her having. She wanted to take her daughter with her, but was concerned that she'd miss a week of school. And her boss, a man by the way, told her, take her with you. Don't let school get in the way of her education. Of course, because school is important for basic education. But if school is really working, what school teaches us to do is to think. School teaches us how to learn, how to think, how to put pieces together. School gives us the basics. We learn to read and write and count. And that is what allows us, opens up the worlds for us so we can understand things. And then add travel to that, and we're good to go. Add engaging with other people. Add to that having experiences outside of what would be normal and expected, and going on adventures. Call them adventures if you will. We all know the stories. Every single culture has stories about, usually, a young man going off to seek his fortune, going off on adventures. Think about it. Think of all the stories you've heard about people going off on adventures, going off to find their fortune, and 99% of the time they were boys. It's really, really cool thing to go adventure. I'm encouraging you to go on adventures. Pick adventures and go. Adventure could be just, on a morning or afternoon, whenever. Go walk in your local park. Go see what's in your local park, your local museum, or walk around a different part of town than you normally would. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It's amazing the things you could pick up and learn close to home. And then take your time and widen your circle and expand your vocabulary. My advice to you, my very strong advice, recommendation, suggestion, is that you do everything you possibly can to develop a wide and a deep vocabulary of experiences. When you have the experiences, your actual language widens also, because you have to find the language to describe it, to explain it, even to yourself, to understand it. As you have the experiences, your world expands. A perfect example, for example, is this little island I talked to you about. Has been ravaged by a volcano. But apart from that, what has happened is that, I remember reading somewhere that everybody on Montserrat is a volcanologist, because every child on Montserrat knows what a volcano is, and we know about lahars and about pyroclastic flows, and they talk about the volcano in ways that other people couldn't. Which, until the volcano, I had not even ever heard the word lahar. Had no idea what it was, and children know it. Now, I would like that you have more pleasant experiences. I wish you more pleasant experiences, but the idea is go have the experiences and expand your vocabulary of experiences and your actual language, and see what a difference it'll make to your life. What we do at the Women's Leadership Circle is provide that opportunities for people to expand their experiences, hang out with other women, talk to other women, learn from other women, meet with other women on all kinds of topics, and expand your purview. All ultimately to lead to the expansion of our ability to contribute to the world. We want to contribute. We are standing in our right to be able to contribute. And therefore we have to develop the things that we are going to contribute. And that comes from nothing other than having experiences. Read books, walk around, talk to people, move around, think through things. For the rest of the week, we're going to be talking about these kinds of things, because that's where life is. That's where growth is. That's where expansion is. That's where fulfillment, real fulfillment is. You get to decide. You pick and choose because you know. Don't limit yourself. Don't shut yourself down. Don't hide away. Don't allow people to hide you away and deny you your right to contribute, your right to enjoy, your right to grow. Okay? So tomorrow, we probably do at the same time, 3, 4-ish, late afternoon, or late mid-afternoon. because it's easier for most people, I find. And because we want to do it I'm still in the tropics, and there is the Nighttime Symphony that I joke about, but it's really it's really, really cool. And those of you who've been in the tropics or who live in the tropics, you know what that feels like. That sounds like, you know, that we don't even notice it after a while, but it shows up. And for some people, it feels like they think there's something wrong with the communication with the system. It really isn't. The crickets and the little tree frogs come out. It's lovely, lovely music, but I want to be able to talk to you without that. So we'll do them earlier. And if you have any questions, any comments, any suggestions, let's talk. I had requests from a couple of people to include people in the live. So I'll probably do that. Let's say on Thursday, I'll open it up so we can maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so people can participate and you can just kind of talk to me while we are live. Yeah, I look forward to that. So until tomorrow, have a good night, good afternoon, pleasant day. Go do something today that'll expand your vocabulary of experiences. And I'll see you tomorrow. Until tomorrow, take good care.